Second white coat. Subscribe and like. Let's learn medicine together.
All right, today we're diving into a true medical mystery. It's a story about a ghost in the machine, a forgotten virus that can come back years later to haunt the brain. And while it has all the makings of a detective story, this isn't fiction. The consequences are tragically real. So here's the big question, the one at the heart of this whole thing. How is this even possible? I mean, you get sick, you get better, and you move on with your life, right? But what if the virus never actually left? What if it just went into hiding, waiting?
Our story begins with a 9-year-old boy. He and his family had just moved to the United States, full of hope for a fresh start. But it wasn't long before it became clear that something was very, very wrong.
At first, it was subtle. So subtle you might not even notice. His parents just saw little changes in him. It was almost like watching a vibrant photograph slowly lose its color, fading to gray. The son they knew was starting to disappear.
The first real, undeniable signs started showing up at school. His grades began to drop, and he was struggling to remember things that used to be easy for him. His parents said he was just acting strangely, becoming more and more forgetful.
And then things got worse. It wasn't just in his head anymore. His body started to betray him. He began having these sudden, involuntary, jerky movements. Doctors call this Myoclonus. His coordination was off, something called ataxia, and his vision started to fail. The mystery was getting deeper, and you could just feel the clock was ticking.
Okay, with the symptoms getting more and more serious, the doctors knew they had to act fast. They launched a full-scale investigation, basically looking for the culprit, the viral footprint of whatever was attacking this boy's brain.
So the medical detectives start putting all the clues together. You've got this progressive cognitive decline in a kid, you've got the jerky movements and the vision loss. But then there's this one piece of his personal history that really stands out. His family had recently immigrated from a region with lower childhood vaccination rates. And that detail, well, it turned out to be the key to the whole thing.
After running all kinds of tests, they finally did a brain biopsy. And what they found was the smoking gun. They were actually able to culture a virus from his brain tissue. And not just any virus, it was an RNA virus with a very specific protein on its surface called hemagglutinin. This was the breakthrough they were looking for.
So why is this hemagglutinin protein such a big deal? Well, think of it like the virus's own personal key. It's what it uses to unlock and get inside our cells. And here's the kicker. It's a dead giveaway for a particular family of viruses, the paramyxoviruses. A family that includes a very, very famous member, the Measles virus. And just like that, once they identified the viral family, all the other pieces of the puzzle just started snapping into place. The doctors could finally put a name to this terrifying illness.
The diagnosis was Subacute Sclerosing Panencephalitis, or SSPE for short. And here's the truly chilling part. This wasn't a new infection. No, this was a delayed complication, a ghost, from a measles infection he'd had years earlier. The virus never left his body. It just hid.
So how does a virus just hide like that? Well, a normal measles virus is pretty simple. It gets into a cell, makes a bunch of copies of itself, and those new viruses bud out to infect other cells. That process, of course, gets the immune system's attention. But the virus that causes SSPE is different. It's a mutated, defective version, a ghost virus. It's missing a key protein, which means it gets trapped inside brain cells. It can't escape. And because it's trapped, it can fly under the radar of the immune system for years, all while slowly, quietly causing inflammation and damage from the inside. And once it starts, the disease follows this terribly predictable 4-stage path. It kicks off with those changes in personality and trouble in school. Then it moves to stage 2 with those signature motor problems, the jerky movements. Stage 3 brings vision loss as the virus damages the part of the brain that processes sight. And the final stage is a complete deterioration into dementia, coma, and, tragically, death. Now, an important part of any solid diagnosis is a process of elimination. You have to be sure what it isn't. So the doctors had to rule out a whole list of other neurological conditions that could, at a glance, look a little bit like this.
And that's exactly what they did. They checked them off the list. It wasn't Creutzfeldt-Jakob, the prion disease that typically hits much older people. It wasn't MS or Guillain-Barré. Those are autoimmune conditions with a totally different pattern.
And it wasn't PML, which is caused by a DNA virus and usually only shows up in people with weakened immune systems. Nope. All the evidence, everything, was pointing in one single direction: SSPE.
Okay, so let's take a step back from this one heartbreaking case for a moment and look at the bigger picture. Because this story isn't just about one boy. It's really about the long, incredibly dangerous shadow that measles can cast.
And this timeline is just staggering. The boy probably got the original measles infection when he was just a toddler, maybe 2 years old. Then for 7 whole years, that ghost virus just sat there, silent inside his brain. And then, at 9 years old, the symptoms of SSPE finally emerged. A 7-year delay. That's how long this thing can hide. And that is where his personal history, his family story, becomes the final piece of the puzzle. That initial infection with the wild-type measles virus, which you have to have for SSPE to even be possible, it happened because he had lived in an area with lower vaccination rates. It is a direct, undeniable link.
So, what's the takeaway from all this? What does the story of a ghost in the machine really teach us? Well, it serves as a pretty stark and incredibly important reminder.
It teaches us that when you see a child with this unique, terrible combination of symptoms, cognitive decline, those jerky movements, problems with vision, you have to consider this devastating possibility. That the real cause isn't something new, but an echo from the past. A measles infection from years ago where a mutated virus has been hiding out in the brain, leading to this fatal outcome.
In the end, it really all comes down to this one powerful statement. SSPE is a delayed, fatal complication of measles caused by a persistent, mutated virus that hides in the brain. It's a ghost story made real and a haunting reminder of why preventing that initial infection is so absolutely critical.